Well, tonight I'd like to share something that I share in the Beginner's Meditation Workshop. I keep hoping that everyone will come to the Beginner's Meditation Workshop so they can get some of these teachings. But since raise your hand if you have not yet come to the Beginner's Meditation Workshop. So that's why I'm going to teach this tonight. Just in case you never come. But even if you get the teaching tonight, you still should come because there's a lot more other things that we learn in the workshop. But I'd like to share, just very simply, that when we begin to practice, we come to meditation, and we have a lot of different ideas about it. And one of the first aspects of meditation that we usually think of is the aspect of focus. In Buddhism, we call that concentration. And when you are fully focused or concentrated, it can lead to feelings of bliss many times. And you can actually focus or concentrate in other ways besides meditation. I mean, you could do drumming, you could be running, you could do something for about 20 minutes or so, constantly, and it can lead you to a state of bliss as well, varying degrees. But this is what most people seem to think of when they think of meditation, is they want to focus, they're trying to focus on their breath, or focus on the mantra, or focus on counting 1 through 10, or focus on whatever your focus is in your meditation. And they're also looking for that sense of stress relief and peace and bliss, especially that bliss. And that's okay, except that this is only one aspect of meditation. There are at least 3 other or more, and I'm only going to talk about 4. The problem with seeking bliss as the end goal is that you can cause yourself to miss out on the true benefits and the deeper benefits of meditation by only being stuck in one. That's so beautiful. I wish all our cell phones had that sound. Thank you, Colleen.
The bliss realm.
The bliss realm. Okay. So, because the reality is that we live in a universe that requires basically 2 kinds of ingredients. And that is that which is blissful and that which is difficult. Basically, it can be boiled down to those. And the reason why this is so is because in reality, the whole universe is only for one purpose. The universe is simply just a Buddha-making machine. And it's just the existence of everything is simply here to produce Buddhas, to help baby Buddhas grow up into fully mature, enlightened Buddhas. The Buddha's calling. And this truth of the universe is the same truth we visit in meditation, because the meditation is just simply a microcosm of the macrocosm. What we do in meditation helps us to see the larger reality of the whole universe. So that's why it's helpful to practice meditation, because then it helps us to be in touch with the nature of the universe. So just as in life there's the blissful and the difficult, there's also the difficult and the blissful in meditation. These 2 ingredients are what help to make us into Buddhas, into fully enlightened beings. Well, we really are already that, but we just don't know it quite yet. And we're allowing ourselves to grow up into being able to manifest and realize that more and more. When we have blissful experiences in meditation, what does that do? It encourages us to keep practicing. Right? If no one ever had a feeling of peace or joy or bliss in their meditation, would they continue it? Would you continue? I wouldn't. No. So the bliss helps us to encourage us. It's like the bliss is like cheerleaders, just kind of motivating us to keep on keeping on. But the difficulties in our meditations, whether they're just neutral difficulties like boredom, or difficulties that are a little bit more than that, like pain in the legs, or or not able to deal with what the mind is like, being all crazy and everything. That difficulty serves us too, because as we practice even in the midst of those difficulties, it creates an internal strength. And guess what? When you can sit in the midst of things coming and going throughout your mind and body and sounds, thoughts, sensations, and you still sit there, breathing in and breathing out, that is a microcosm of your macrocosm. If you can do that in meditation, guess what happens in your daily life? You're more able to be grounded and centered as you move through your life. When crises happen, or when people yell at you, or when things happen unexpectedly, you're much more able to be centered and grounded because you've been practicing that in your daily meditations. You see? One affects the other. So that's why it's important not to hate the difficulties. They have a purpose too. So practice with both the bliss and the difficulties, because the bliss will help keep you encouraged, and the difficulties will make you stronger. And both of these produce the qualities of a Buddha. And two main qualities are wisdom and compassion. But you can't have wisdom and compassion without going through the difficult, right? Can you imagine someone having true compassion if they have never actually suffered, or they have never seen suffering? No. And does anyone have true wisdom without going through life experiences of all kinds? You might have knowledge, you might have facts, but not wisdom. So, since wisdom and compassion are the two main, or are two main ingredients of a Buddha, then that's what is being cultivated in us, because we are all Buddhas to be. So the bliss and the difficulties are helping us to cultivate wisdom and compassion. And so as we mature into our full Buddhahood. Okay, now let's say you're trying to focus in your meditation, and you are let's say you're coming to counting the breath. Okay, breathing in 1, breathing out 1, breathing in 2, breathing out 2, breathing in 3. What's for lunch? Breathing out 3. Breathing in 4. I wonder what I'm going to do tomorrow. And it's like, I thought about someone last week who just really irritated me. And then you just completely lost the count. It's like, I have to start over. Okay, breathing in 1, breathing out 1. Right. Well, so maybe your focus is not so great. But that's true of everyone. So don't think you're not good at meditation just because you don't have the best focus. There are other aspects of meditation. Okay? So let's say you're not very focused, but you're very mindful and aware that you are counting the breath, and then that you're thinking of your shopping list, and then you come back to counting the breath, and you're very aware you thought about someone last week who irritated you, but you come back to the breath again. You're still aware. You're aware when you're focused, and you're aware when you're wandering, and you're aware enough to bring yourself back to the focus. You are still meditating very well. So that's called awareness, and in Buddhism we have a fancier word called mindfulness. So maybe your focus is not so bad, not so good, but at least you have a good awareness and mindfulness, and that's also your practice. Of course, you could be like me, and from time to time, I'm not so focused, and then even my mindfulness goes out the window for 10, 15 minutes at a time, right? You start going into a daydream, and you're lost in it for more than 5 minutes, or 10 minutes, or 15 minutes, and you don't even know you're meditating, for several minutes, okay? So you're not very aware or mindful, okay? But the good news is you can still be benefiting from your practice of meditation. You still can be a good meditator, even if you're not that focused or mindful, because you need this third aspect, which is perseverance or discipline. Or in Buddhism we call it effort, diligence, etc. If you have this quality, if you cultivate this quality, you're still benefiting from the meditation, and you are still a good meditator. So don't judge yourself too badly if you're not the most focused or most aware person. If you can persevere in the practice and just, for instance, if you make a goal, I'm going to sit for 25 minutes right now, and then you sit the whole time, even though your legs fell asleep, your mind was going crazy, and you really, really wanted to make a phone call because you just thought of someone that you need to call, but you still sat for the full 25 minutes, you, even though you didn't feel focused or very mindful, you still benefited from it. There was an internal strength created. And one really good example of this is I had a student a few years ago in California. She came to the Sangha every week for 3 months, but she kept saying, I'm not getting any benefit from this meditation. Of course, I was really shocked that she would still meditate every week. Come. But she said, I don't think I'm getting, I'm not feeling bliss, I'm not getting revelations, I'm not hearing God, all these different things that we have notions about. Well, one day she was driving on the highway, and a car suddenly cut her off. And instantly her first thought was to slow down and let them pass, because maybe they have an emergency or something, I better let them pass me. And then she caught herself. And she said, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just did that. I just thought that. Because her normal reaction her entire life would be to speed up, cut them back off, and give them a hand signal. And she laughed and laughed and laughed, and she said, the meditation is working. So she was so excited. And this is a wonderful teaching, because we may have notions or expectations about what the meditation is supposed to feel like or look like, or the benefits, and when they're supposed to happen, or what they're supposed to do. But let me tell you, when you practice, there's something greater than your ego that is working. And it has a wisdom far greater than the ego. And it knows where the energy of the practice needs to go first. You might think you want to have revelations or visions or hear voices or have psychic abilities. But it knows you need more patience. You need more loving kindness. Things like that, right? So that's where it's going to go, because that's where it's needed most. Okay? And of course, eventually it will go to these other areas eventually too. But we shouldn't put expectations on our practice. Simply trust in the practice and practice. And of course, we trust because we know we've seen others benefiting. We know that we've probably benefited some, so we know that it's not blind faith. It's a confidence based on empirical evidence. So we know, even though we don't know all of it, but we know enough that this is good for us. And so we do that. And when we practice, it's like planting a seed in the soil of our consciousness, the seed of mindfulness in the soil of our consciousness. We don't suddenly start digging up the seed. Okay, is it sprouting yet? What color is it? Has it made flowers yet? Any fruit? What kind of tree? We don't do that. But what we do is we practice and we just let it go. And we don't try to judge the meditation by what we're feeling in the meditation. Just like we're not digging up the seed as we're planting it. We just practice and let it go. Practice and let it go. Practice and let it go. And over time, we will start seeing the practice sprouting and leafing and flowering and fruiting and benefiting our lives and the lives around us. I know this to be the truth because I have experienced it in my own life, and I've seen others. And I see, for instance, Tashi and my teacher Thich Nhat Hanh, I see their lives, and I know they don't just become like that overnight. I know that it's because of their practice. That's why I have so much confidence in the practice of mindfulness, because I have seen people whose lives are so transformative. Just being around them is so wonderful. And I know it's because of the practice. And I know I've seen it in my own life. I'm a lot more mindful, loving person than I used to be. A lot more grounded person too, because of the practice. So I know it works. But what if you're not that focused, you're not that mindful, and you give up too easily on the practice. You say you're going to meditate for 25 minutes, you only do it for 5. You say you're going to meditate every day this week, and you only meditate one time this week. Can you still benefit from the practice of meditation? No. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. But only if you have this fourth ingredient, because if you don't have this fourth ingredient, I don't know how else to help you. This fourth ingredient is the quality of being able to begin anew, to start fresh and new. And it's based in the practice of loving kindness toward yourself and self-forgiveness, self-compassion. It's the attitude that says, well, okay, I didn't do so well yesterday or last week. I didn't quite, follow through on my intentions. Oh well, I'm starting again today. And I'm not going to have any guilt about the past because I'm a baby Buddha. I have every right to do whatever I need to do to grow. And so today, I start again, and I know I can do it, and I don't give up because that's who I am. It's my destiny to be a fully mature Buddha. And I'm a wonderful baby Buddha. And I just love myself enough to give myself a new day today and start again today. Just start again today. And if you have to, start again every day, again, and again, and again. The reason why I'm here standing before you today in this Dallas Meditation Center is primarily because of this practice of beginning anew. Because I'm not the most focused person. I'm not always the most mindful person either. And my perseverance and discipline, it kind of comes and goes in waves over periods of time and seasons. But I keep coming back to the practice over and over and over again. And usually what I do is I set one particular day as my day of mindfulness. For me, it's Sunday. So every Sunday, I think about, okay, so how did I do this past week? What are my goals for this next week? And then I do that. And then I look back again and say, okay, maybe I should make more reasonable goals. Because what you want to do is you want to make goals that you can actually fulfill first. So if practicing meditation twice a day, 2 hours a day is a little high goal, too high for you, start with 5 minutes every other day. And then when you've done a whole week of that, then for the next week you can do, let's say, 7 minutes every day or something. But do things that you can follow through on. Because the universe, the spiritual laws of the universe are such that when it sees you make an intention and you don't follow through, what it reads is, oh, this person doesn't take this seriously, doesn't really need or want this support right now. You see, that's the signal you're giving to the universe. But when you make an intention and you follow through on it, the universe automatically sees that as a sign, oh, here's someone taking something seriously, let's support that. You see? That's why it's so important to be aware of our intentions and to follow through on them. So, anyway, that's just a little teaching I wanted to share with you today that I usually give at my Beginner's Meditation Workshop. I hope you'll still come to the Beginner's Meditation Workshop if you haven't yet, but this is one of the things I share with people, just to encourage them, so that they know that meditation is not so daunting. It's, there are different aspects, and anyone can do it. I really believe anyone can meditate. And that doesn't mean that everyone's going to be like a Zen meditator, meditating several hours every day or whatever in a monastery. But you can meditate in some way, in your own way. Maybe you practice walking meditation for 20 minutes, every day, like on your lunch break or something. Or maybe, you do something mindful for several minutes, each day or each week. And I think everyone can do it. That's my message. I really believe one of my life, missions is to help as many people as possible to know that they're not a bad meditator. They can do it, and they can find their own way to do it. And so I just want to make it easier for as many people as possible, and to help people know that they can be confident in themselves in practice. So, Amitabha.